Dave,
Hey
you're still
everybody.
sharing your screen. Okay, sorry. Keep going, Tyler.
Hey everybody, my name is Tyler Pendleton and I'm excited to share Tmux with you. I know we looked at the IDE a minute ago with Diane, and this is the Vim route kind of thing. So give me 1 second to get my PowerPoint up, share my screen. Wait a second. Get this out of here. All right, Tmux, the best thing since I discovered Vim. So Tmux is a terminal multiplexer. And it sounds like really confusing. Don't know what a terminal multiplexer is. But it's really simple. It takes one terminal window and separates it into several different terminal sessions. So you can have a lot more going on in one screen, and it reduces your distractions. So an example would be, the first example of not using this would be the Firehose Vagrant. Like when you start up your server, you get the Vagrant going, you get all this other stuff going on. You have two separate terminal windows open. You have one window with multiple tabs. You've got a text editor open, and you spend half your day navigating the windows. But when you're using Tmux, you have one full screen terminal window with 3 panes, maybe 3 panes. And I've got my text editor on the left. I'm using Vim. And at the top right of the screen, there's the rake routes, and the bottom right's running the server. So you can navigate between all these without ever lifting your hands away from the keyboard. So getting started with Tmux is really easy for Mac users and Linux users. Windows users, you're screwed. I looked up how to install this for you, and you should just use the Firehose Vagrant. Makes it a little easier. But if you know how to use Cygwin and get through that, shouldn't be a problem for you. And starting Tmux is as simple as typing Tmux and hitting enter. So sessions are what Tmux uses to separate your work environments. So say you're ready to work on Flixtor, you can create a session that has that 3-pane organization up and come back to it or leave it at any time and have it saved. So you can have several different sessions at the same time, and they're completely separate working environments, all in the directory that you're using for your project. So starting a new session is as easy as Tmux new session -s, and that S flag allows you to specify the session name. We're going to see another couple of different flags that mean different things for Tmux, and they're all pretty simple. So the S flag allows you to specify the session name, and this would start a new session with the name session name. And to view all of your Tmux sessions, you use the command tmux ls. So it's much like just viewing the files in your current directory on the command line. And to select or attach to one of these sessions, you would use tmux attach. And -t, the -t flag is for selecting a target. So the -s is for naming a session or renaming a session. -t would be to pick a session out of the ones you currently have available. So that would attach you to a session called target session. And I didn't ask, can everybody hear me okay and see what's going on? All right. So to detach from your current session without destroying anything, you can save it. So you've got your work environment up, and you've got another session up. To close out of it without ending your session, you just type in tmux detach, and it closes out all of your windows but saves that session so that you can come back to it at a later point. And to kill your session completely, like you were shutting down your computer, you could use tmux kill session -t to select your target session. So got to be careful when you're doing that. I tend to not do it very often because I like to keep my sessions up and running so I can flip back and forth as often as I need to. And why you would use sessions to keep everything organized. Say you have Flixtor open and you have a session window with 3 panes all working in the Flixtor directory. And you have another one, you're like, okay, I'm working on my blog too. And now that I've learned Flixtor, there's so much that I want to write about. So I'm going to flip over to my blog. It's got a bunch of panes open. working in a completely different directory. And if I was working with a bunch of terminal windows open and Sublime text, I'd have to change the folder that I'm going in. I'd have to close out of the old one that I was using and do all these different things to get switched over. Whereas in Tmux, because you already have your code blog session up, or maybe you don't, you could type Tmux detached to get out of the Flixter one without closing it, and then attach to code blog if you have it, or new session to code blog if you need it. So it makes switching sessions really, really easy, and kind of speeds up your workflow if you're working with a lot of different projects, or you're going from work to home, and say you're working on a bunch of open source stuff. You've got all that kind of room to play around without losing your space in your work environment. So navigating your sessions in Tmux is pretty easy. Everything is started with a prefix key, which by default is Control-B. So when you're looking up commands for this application, most people refer to it as just prefix. So they'll say prefix and then the command. So the default for that is Control-B. And the default pane navigation, it does the same things as Vim would if you're using Vim. You can vertically split the pane with the prefix percentage, horizontally with prefix quotation, and you can switch panes with prefix O or prefix semicolon. And windows are like tabs. So it's a little bit of a different naming convention, but windows are like separate tabs that you would use in a regular terminal or Sublime Text or something like that. So you can create a new window with prefix C and go to the next window with prefix N and the previous with prefix P. So it's all pretty easy once you get the hang of putting in the prefix key and then go into the next command. Tmux is very customizable, and everything, or all you need to do to get, sorry, that was weird. To customize it, you just have to access the configuration file, and it's in your root directory, the .tmux.conf. And I'm going to post this online for you guys so that you can access, what my current configuration is. This is just some of the things that I found useful. So I changed, my prefix key because that was uncomfortable. It pulled my hands away from the home row to get to the Control-B. So I unbound the Control-B and set it to Control-S. Makes it a little bit easier for my hands to move around it. And then I changed the pane navigation so that it was more like Vim because I was really comfortable with how I moved around in that text editor. So in the configuration, if you want to set a global thing, -G flag is for global. And if you don't want to use the prefix when using a command, the -N flag makes the prefix unnecessary. So Tmux Terminal Multiplexer helps streamline your workflow by giving you access to all of your terminal sessions in one window. And this reduces distractions. So you're not flipping back and forth between a bunch of different windows. And maybe you've got, iMessage open and you're talking to your girlfriend and you're like, oh, wait, no, I got to talk to her for a little bit. Or you have Reddit open and you're just way too distracted. All of this is in one window. You're not flipping back and forth between anything. And you never have to reach over and use the mouse. It's all home row commands, really easy. And it helps that you can save your sessions and get back to them more easily when you're switching between workflows and projects. So that's all I have.
Awesome stuff. So I have a question, and you can tell me that you don't want to answer it, but do you have your dev environment set up? I'd love to see sort of just you use Tmux on your machine just a little bit so people could see the splitting of the panes and that type of thing.
Okay. Give me 1 sec to get that.
Sweet.
So I'll share my screen again. Okay, so this is the basic terminal window. So to get Tmux up, and I already have a session for Flixter because I was working on that earlier. So to get back to that session, I'll go Tmux attach -T Flixter, and it pops open into how I was working on it earlier. So if I wanted to get rid of windows or reorganize, I can hit the Control-D and it'll get rid of windows for me. If I needed to, I can close the server first. And now I just have Vim open. And when you're in Vim, it kind of overrides the commands for Tmux. So to quit Vim, you would do the normal Vim quit. But to split a window, you'd use the prefix and the percentage, gets that one. And when you're splitting windows in this, it uses the current pane that you're in, as opposed to the entire window. So if I were to split it horizontally, it would split the pane instead of the entire window, which I find really, really useful as opposed to like cutting my whole screen in half, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's super cool to use it with Vim too. I think it really is almost like a full IDE without sort of an IDE. So it's kind of interesting. It's cool that this talk happened at the same time as the RubyMine one. It's because you get to see the two different sort of ways you can sort of set up your environment. Does anybody else have any other questions?
What was the learning curve like doing all this? I mean, obviously you're learning Vim, but was it pretty easy?
You know, I found some really, really good videos online, and I was using Vim in a day and this in like a half hour.
Oh, that's great.
So I think that it may seem intimidating when you go like start into it, but say you've already learned Vim, you know those commands, you can edit the commands for this to mirror that. And it makes, it pretty much gets rid of the learning curve. You get used to splitting the panes like you would in Vim, but instead of them being other text windows or panes, they're terminal panes.
Because this would be very helpful for what I'm doing now. Our app we got one big app, but we've got like a ton of micro apps that connect to it. So I'm constantly working in like 2, 3, 4 different apps. They all have to interact with each other. So managing terminals is a complete pain.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought this was wonderful. And first I thought it was intimidating. Somebody mentioned it to me and I stayed away from it for, a week or so. And then because I'd heard the name, when you hear something, you start seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
So I started seeing, I was like, all right, well, I have to give it a shot, even if it's tough. I mean, I learned Vim, so why not? And it turned out to be a piece of cake and incredibly helpful for speeding up my workflow.
Cool.
Super cool. Does anybody else have any other questions?